Your migration completed. But did anyone actually move?
I'm Jamie Litherland, and I am the VP of Business Development at VOSS. There's a particular kind of organisational behaviour that tends to follow large technology deployments. The project plan closes green, the licenses are assigned, the devices are configured, and the training sessions are checked off the list. Leadership signs off, the steering committee disbands, and everyone moves on to the next initiative. 6 months later, someone asks the IT director to prove return on investment. That's when the discomfort sets in. This was the situation facing a multinational organisation after completing a Microsoft Teams rollout across 18,000 users. By every conventional deployment metric, the program was a success. But when the CFO asked for evidence that the investment had changed how people worked, the team didn't have a credible answer. The help desk was still fielding calls from some users who were defaulting to the tools they'd always used. Meeting room utilisation hadn't changed. The organisation had deployed Teams without being able to understand whether anyone was genuinely adopting it. The gap they'd fallen into is one of the most common and least discussed in enterprise UC. The distance between license assignment and behavioural change. Deployment and adoption are not the same event. Deployment is a technical milestone. Adoption is an organisational outcome. Confusing the two leads to exactly this scenario. A completed migration with no way to demonstrate that anything actually moved. We connected VOSS UC analytics to the environment and built a dashboard layer focused not on infrastructure health, but on behavioural patterns. The questions we were trying to answer weren't about uptime or call quality. They were about who was using Teams, how often, which workloads they were actually engaging with, calling, meetings, chat, file collaboration, and where engagement had stalled or reversed after the initial rollout period. What came back wasn't a simple pass/fail picture. Adoption had fractured along lines that standard deployment reporting would never have surfaced. In some departments, Teams had genuinely displaced legacy behaviour. In others, it had been installed alongside it, used occasionally and reluctantly, while the old habits continued uninterrupted. And 3 specific business units stood out as consistently, measurably low engagement. All in the same geographic region, all reporting into leaders who had never participated in any enablement activity. That level of specificity changes what you can do next. Rather than commissioning a full re-rollout, expensive, disruptive, and likely to produce the same uneven results, the organisation was able to design a targeted re-engagement programme. Focused workshops in those 3 units, senior sponsor activation at the leadership level, workload-specific coaching tied to how each team actually operated, not a generic Teams overview. Within 10 weeks, adoption metrics across those departments had moved materially. The broader point here is about operating model design, not just tooling. Most organisations treat adoption as a project phase rather than an ongoing discipline. The go-live date marks the end of active management, at which point the technology is expected to sustain itself. That model doesn't hold in complex, geographically distributed environments where usage patterns vary enormously by function, culture, and local leadership behaviour. Real adoption intelligence means having continuous visibility into how your UC estate is being used in practice, not as a one-time audit, but as a standing operational capability. It means being able to answer the CFO's question, not with deployment statistics, but with behavioural evidence. And it means knowing where to intervene before the gap between what you've deployed and what people are using becomes too wide to close without a full rerun. If you would like to discuss your adoption challenges, please get in touch.